What up? Can you guys hear me? Welcome everyone. The last bottle. Yeah. Welcome to the fourth week, the last tasting of the sherry box. And of course, in a true non-conformist, non-following fashion of a 6 foot wine club, we're gonna wrap up the sherry box with not sherry. So what we have today is not sherry. But you'll see why this made into the sherry box soon. But anyways, we're tasting this guy, 2022 Alvear. Yes, it's the same producer from last week, and you'll see. You all know I don't like to repeat producers, but there's a reason. There's a reason why this is wine made sense for this box. But 2022 Alvear Tres Miradas Vino de Pueblo Blanco from Montilla Moriles is what we have today. Just a few announcements before we get into the wine. Invoice for next month have all gone out. If you have already paid, then you're good to go. If you haven't, there's still quite a few outstanding invoices out there. If you're not planning on joining us, just let me know. So, I mean, no offense taken, just so I can get that all set up. If you are joining us, go ahead and take care of that so I don't have to chase cats and hunt you down. But in case the theme matters, next month's theme is going to be Castilla y León, which is kind of in the central, like a little bit north of central. It's a fascinating area. To tell the complete truth, it became kind of fascinated with just because I don't know much about it. I haven't honestly worked with that much wine from Castilla y León. I've had a few wines from different parts of Castilla y León, but more and more I read into it, more of my research into it, more and more I realize how varied and you can really find something for everyone, anyone there. And I was blown away by kind of the diversity of different things that are happening. And it's kind of got my curiosity running through about that kind of central part of Spain right now. Anyways, it's good. It's a fun box. There's a lot of kind of bangers. I mean, of course, they're all delicious, but some are just kind of unexpected. You would not expect. There's very kind of obscure kind of varieties that people don't talk about when you're talking about Central Spain or Castilla y León. So it's gonna be great. So yeah, next month's theme is gonna be Castilla y León, so another Spanish box. And next week there's no tasting, and you may be wondering that this is mostly, I guess, for Sam and Annie. But yeah, it's July 1st, but our tasting is always the Wednesday after the pickup day. And pickup day is always on the first Tuesday of each month. So yes, July 1st, that's July, it's not June anymore. But the first Tuesday of July is actually July 7th. So the first tasting of July is going to happen on the 8th of July. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so because next week is essentially the fifth Wednesday of June, even though it's July 1st, we're going to take a break. So this happens 3 times a year in 3 months, where there are 5 Wednesdays we take a break. So next Wednesday is one of those. So we're going to take a break from tasting. You don't have to look at this face and let's do this voice for a week. So yeah, I'll relieve you of that. And then we can come back on the 8th with our first tasting of Castilla y León, starting in July. So there you go. All right. Any questions about any of that, in case that was confusing? Cool. In case you're just joining us now, we're tasting this guy this week. 2022 Alvear Tres Miradas Vino de Pueblo Blanco from Montilla Moriles. In case you're wondering also why this label looks familiar, one, we had Alvear last week, but we've actually featured this exact wine, not this vintage, this is a new vintage. The 2022 is actually considered one of their best vintages of this wine ever made. But we've had their 2019 vintage, I think. It was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, possibly, that when I featured this wine. But there was a lot of, it felt like back then the wine kind of went over people's head. People just didn't really understand why. I found the wine to be incredible. Like, it's super fun and and intriguing and intellectually very intriguing and but also delicious. But because there was no reference point, right? This like framing of sherry that people couldn't, if you were not familiar with sherry, it was hard for you to wrap your kind of palate and wine thinking around this wine. But now that we've gone through three sherry wines from earlier this month, and then you kind of understand what sherry is and how it's made, hopefully this wine will make a little more sense. And having that context, hopefully you will maybe better understand why this wine is so cool and why it's doing something that is completely against the grain, kind of. So hopefully that's my aim to wrap it all up with this one, with that. So, anyways, enough talking about why. Let's just get into the wine. So let's start with the map, as we always do. It's a map of Spain. We've all seen this many times at this point this month. You guys will be looking at it again next month. But just in case also you're wondering where we're going next month, this is where we're, Castilla y León. This part. Pretty large, encompassing, but like very separate parcels. So we got a wine from Arribes, a wine from Bierzo, but we also got wine from Rueda. So yeah, this region is what we're gonna do next month. Anyways, for this week and this month, we're back in Andalusia. And where we are is exactly where we were last week, which is Montilla Moriles, which is up top, right? Sorry, up top right here. There's a town of Montilla, it doesn't say here, but it's the south of Cordoba, which is a very historical town right here. But it's because, because we covered this last week, it's the same thing, the same producer. The terrain, the Montilla, Cordoba province, Pedro Jimenez, the tinajas, which is the huge jars, the albero soil, which is their local dialect for the alberita soil that really carries a calcium-rich soil, the oldest bodega in Andalusia, all that we talked about last week is the same thing this week. But what's happening here right now, and I mentioned this last week, but this wine really exemplifies all of that. But in general, this area, Montilla, even the Jerez gets all the Jerez and Sanlúcar, the Sanlúcar de Barrameda up here, they get all the limelight when it comes to sherry, right? Andalusian wines, so like, oh, the sherry capital, the sherry triangle, it's all right here. And they've done a much better branding and marketing. And Montilla Moriles, this area has always played kind of an anonymous backbone to the sherry industry, providing all that Pedro Jimenez grapes that grow here. This is the hottest part of Spain in terms of wine growing that happens. And all the high sugar body building kind of Pedro Jimenez has served as a backbone for some of that really much thinner kind of Palomino Fino grapes that grow near the Atlantic coast on the coast. But in last 300 years or so, at any point within last 300 years of a sherry history, is just now within, I would say, last 10 years or so, if it lasts, that really this Montilla Moriles is really asserting itself as kind of own distinct identity and more loudly than it's ever had in entire sherry history. And tonight's wine is kind of example of that, where they're trying to create their own distinct identity by creating something like this, where it's not just tied to the sherry generoso, which is all the three wines that we tasted earlier this month, but creating this kind of like a dry table wine style wine to really express the kind of the quote unquote Grand Cru sites, really modeled after the Burgundian system of Grand Cru and Premier Cru and all of that, picking some of the best sites that they have, the vineyards in the hills, in the hilltops and the mountains of Montilla Moriles, and then making these single vineyard wines, but also still paying homage and respect to the kind of traditional sherry making production style, which is all kind of preserved in this bottle. And we'll talk, I'll explain more about that as we go along, but that's kind of what's happening. So this wine, this bottle exemplifies basically everything that's new and exciting that's happening here. And this whole sherry area, this Andalusia, is like very much, you know, stuck in its kind of rigidity, old tradition. Nothing really changes in terms of innovation, but all that kind of new, cool, exciting innovation, something different and new, is all happening really around here in Montilla Moriles. And I'm more excited about Montilla Moriles these days and Malaga and Sierra de Malaga than I am about Jerez. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love sherry and I love everything here, but to me, this is where we really, really got to look out for. This is where the exciting stuff is happening right now, in my opinion. So even within here, Montilla Moriles, we talked about last week, there are these two higher quality, calidad superior, subzones within Montilla Moriles named Sierra de Montilla and Moriles Alto. So Moriles Alto means high Moriles. Sierra de Montilla means like the mountains of Montilla. These are like the higher, cooler, more like geologically complex than the plains below in the valley. The Sierra Montilla is a series of ridges and hilltops rising around like 550, 610 meters above sea level. And what happens at this altitude is that all the Pedro Jimenez, which is if it was grown on the valley floor, the growth of it kind of slows down, right? The extreme summer heat that kind of comes down on the summer valley floor is moderated by the altitude. So night temperature drops sharply. So all that heat during the day ripens the grapes, but because it gets cold enough at night, the natural acidity is maintained or retained, and then also the ripening season as a whole gets longer because it gets cooled down at nighttime. And for any of you who's gardened or try to grow tomatoes or any kind of vegetables or fruits, particularly before, you know that longer the growing season, the longer the fruits and vegetables sit and ripen on the vine, the more complex and better flavor it is. And it's the same thing with the grapes. So as the ripening season stretches longer and bigger because of that cooling altitude effect, the grapes from here tend to get much more concentration, much more acidity, much fresher, and much more delicate. All that kind of delicate aromas of the natural Pedro Jimenez is retained, which is awesome. So here, on the valley floor, we talked about this last week as well. The Vino style sherry here from Montilla Moriles is unfortified because of that heat that grows here. The wine can get up to 15%. The PX can grow enough sugar to get the wine up to 15% without fortifying it. So all the floor development that happens, you have to get the fortification up to about 13.5 to 14.5%, right? To make Fino wine. It can achieve that just naturally. So those wines, the Finos from this area don't need any fortification for the floor to develop. But where we are, all the way up in Montilla Moriles, in the Sierra de Montilla, in the high up in the mountains, now we're clocking around 13% instead of 15%. So, this is already giving away for our tasting later, but this is a 13% ABV, and that's all natural sugar. So compared to the valley floor, the PX gets up to 15%. Now we are getting this at 13%, which is much more moderate alcohol. Again, it's all about maintaining that acidity, retaining that acidity and that freshness, but also be able to carry out the aging on their floor naturally without having to add fortification. And that's all possible in this particular part called Sierra de Montilla, and that's why it's highly prized parcels of land here because of that altitude. The vines across this particular wine comes from two different sites called Cerro Macho and Rio Frio Alto. But the vines here are over 50 years old, all traditionally goblet trained, meaning it's a bush train. There's no trellis there, so it just looks like a big bush vine, essentially. Farmed sustainably, non-chemical, harmful chemicals, low yields, deep kind of roots in the Alvear soil that we were talking about. So all the things that we've talked about last week, it's the same thing here, except it's high perched up on the hills, much cooler region, picked much earlier. This is actually harvested in August, which is super, super early, and to create this kind of a really bright, light kind of style of Pedro Jimenez. And for those of you who were around for, I think it was last year's Thanksgiving box, or maybe it's 2 years ago, when I put the Pedro Jimenez, that little half bottle dessert wine, this is the exact same grape. To think that that wine, which is lusciously sweet, syrupy, dark brown, like the one that you pour over vanilla ice cream kind of wine, and this wine that we're drinking tonight come from the exact same grapes from the same place. Well, one's on the much closer to the valley floor, the other one is much higher up on the hill. But that just kind of goes to show how much the altitude can make a difference between these grapes. Um, let's talk a little bit about the Tres Mirada project, this thing. So this is also another thing. When I say all the exciting stuff is happening here, and the fact that it's happening with Alvear, which is the oldest winery in Andalusia, is what's also striking and awesome. So Tres Miradas in Spanish means three perspectives or three gazes, three looks. A mirada just means like a gaze. The name captures a kind of like what they're trying to do here, which is to look at the same terroir, like same plot of land, like the same region, but from three different angles of different kind of ageability, quality, and aspect. And they're really modeling this after the Burgundian kind of classification system. So like the Grand Cru, Premier Cru, that kind of system. So the first look or the first mirada is this, the Vino de Pueblo. So this wine, on the front label, it says on the bottom right here, Vino de, I don't know if you can see that, Vino de Pueblo right there. This is the village wine, which is tonight's wine. So this is a fermented in tinajas, 8 months under floor, because it naturally gets a floor. And then it's a direct press, no maceration, no oak. It's a very straightforward, kind of pure expression of the terroir. And then it blends these different plots there. This comes from two different ones. But this happens to be this year's vintage, but past vintage, it could come from different ones as well. But the idea is to kind of express the entire region of the Sierra de Montilla as a whole. And then the second look, the segunda mirada, is Paraje de Rio Frio Alto. So it only comes from Rio Frio Alto, which is one of the vineyards that's in here. So again, that's a single vineyard, same making same production, tinaja, racked into old Fino butts for 12 additional months under floor. So more complexity, more depth. And then finally, the last level, the highest level is the third look, the Tercera Mirada. It's a single vineyard wine from Viña de Antoni. So longer aging, but it's also fermented and aged in the Fino barrels. So it's basically taking these different vineyards and making single vineyard wines, and then doing a much longer élevage, so the aging system on it. So 3 different levels of it. And something like that has never really been done in all of Sherry or Jerez or Montilla Moriles, because as you know, that fractional blending system, Solaris, all about taking different things from different sites. Is more about the production method than it was about the actual little sites. But now they're making vintage wine, unfortified, and making single vineyard wines, and then playing with the different élevage and different vessels to age it in. So very Burgundian system, and then that's what they're trying to do here, which is something that really has never been done in this whole area. And the fact that it's happening in the kind of a part, it'd be one thing if it was happening in Jerez, right? But the fact that it's happening in Montilla Moriles with Pedro Jimenez grape, which is kind of like the unsung hero. Nobody really pays attention, but it's been the backbone of sherry industry for a long time. And it's happened, and then this kind of like a new idea and the innovation is happening with the oldest winery in all of Andalusia. All of that is what's super cool about this particular wine. That's what gets me excited about this wine. I mean, the fact that it's also delicious, but let's see. Let's talk about who makes this wine. So you're going to see, you've seen these pictures. So this is Fernando Jimenez Alvear and Maria Alvear from Alvear, right? And this is Ramiro Ibanez, and Willie Perez from our first week, the De La Riva that we tasted, the Manzanilla. And then you haven't seen these guys, but this is Envinate. So this is Laura Ramos on the left. This is Jose Angel Martinez. Sorry, this is Roberto Santana. This is Jose Martinez. And then Alfonso Torrente is these four guys. So in case you're not familiar with the Envinate, when we put together a Canary Island box, I was desperately trying to get their wines into that box, but their wines are so limited that I just could not get enough stock into DC to get it into the wine. But these guys really made their names with making Canary Island wines. But these are four Spanish winemakers. They all went to a wine school together, enology school together, and then graduated in 2005 and immediately started a wine consultancy company, and then which is what developed to Envinate. Envinate, by the way, in Spanish literally means like wine yourself. So it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek talk about like you drink more wine. They take their winemaking very seriously, but then they don't take themselves very seriously. But it's one of the most kind of a cult, has a huge cult following. A lot of their wines are, particularly their Canary Island wines, are allocated now. If you ever go to Spanish restaurants and then you see Envinate bottle, you should snag one and try one, or just go to a wine shop and try Envinate bottle because their wines are exceptional. They make really, really good wines. But yeah, they make wines in Canary Islands. They make wine in Ribera Sacra, which is in Galicia, and then Jerez, and then now they're making here. So this whole thing, and their whole thing is about minimal intervention, terroir first philosophy, going to kind of overlooked, unsung hero places, kind of a lot of historic viticultural areas, and then working with the indigenous varieties only, and then making these wines from all over Spain. So, I mean, just hearing myself saying that, it's like there's no surprise why I like these guys. That's like those are all the things I try to feature here in 6 Foot Wine Club. Like try to go to places that nobody really talks about, and trying to features indigenous grape varieties that nobody really talks about. The mainstream wine world doesn't really talk about, and these are the guys who've decided they're going to dedicate their career to these places in Spain that have those kind of old vines. So I really love their wines, so I highly recommend them. But anyways, this project is a partnership between these guys at Envinate, Ramiro Ibanez from De La Riva, from first week, and then now we have Maria Alvear from Alvear. Just these three entities that came together. And this also, initially I thought that's why it was called Tres Miradas, but later I found that there's actually 3 tiers of quality within their winemaking. That's why it's called Tres Miradas. But it's also because the 3 different people came together and then formed this project, which is super cool. And the fact that I didn't even know, honestly, that the Tres Miradas was actually all 3 of them until after I put the box together. But it just happens to be that there were people that I feature in the at least the De La Riva and that Alvear is in there. So it was a coincidental, but it's a nice coincidence. But yeah, so these 3 came together, and they essentially, the whole idea was, how do we create completely terroir-driven table wine, unfortified table wine, as a way to kind of imagine and have new perspectives on the Montilla Moriles as the entire region. And I think they've done an incredible job, because this wine kind of speaks to what this region does, like why, like basically the altitude and then the effect on the acidity and all that is felt on this wine, but also the shared tradition of aging it under floor, making Fino style is also felt, but also the fact that they're working with these Pedro Jimenez grapes, which are super, super high sugar grapes. And then the fact that they're able to turn that into, completely reinterpret that into this kind of a dry, bone dry, table dry still wine is, I don't know, again, super cool. Like, to me, this is why this wine, it kind of freaked me out for some when I had it. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible what this wine is. So anyways, so what is this wine? This is a This is a dry white table wine made from 100% Pedro Jimenez. Again, if you know that Pedro Jimenez is that thick, sweet, that dessert pour that we feature in the Thanksgiving box. This is the exact same variety. The fact that that same grape can express itself that far apart from each other is to me so cool. Like that's amazing. It is not sweet. It's not fortified. It's not a sherry generoso, which are all the three dry sherries that we tasted. It's a 13% ABV. Pedro Jimenez. Like it's just everything that you don't think is what's going to happen here is what's happening in this spot from this region. Um, so yeah, pretty cool stuff. 100% Pedro Jimenez from two parcels, Rio Frio Alto, Cerro Macho, both on a 600 meter to 650 meter of elevation, so high altitude. Harvest in August because the heat gets there really. Even at altitude, the heat gets there, so they need to get it out early. It's also to preserve the acidity. It's destem, so there's no whole cluster, there's no stem inclusion either. As soon as it comes into the cellar, it's destem, direct press immediately, no skin contact, no maceration, and then it's fermented spontaneously with the indigenous yeast only inside the 4,800 liter tinajas that you guys saw last week. Those are big clay jars that are buried in the ground. And then after fermentation, the wine is racked into a large concrete vat, and then it's aged for 8 months under floor. So that's also something a little different. It is aged under floor shorter amount of time, 8 months, right? Unlike the Vino that we had, which was, I mean, again, it's through a solar system. There's no way of really knowing how long that wine was, but average age of 20 years or so, right? So only 8 months under floor here, and then it's done in a concrete vat instead of in a barrel. So it should be even less oxidative. I mean, it shouldn't be oxidative at all because it's under floor, but the fact that it's in a concrete, not a barrel, because even in a barrel, there's a little bit of micro-oxygenation that happens just through the wood grains, especially when you age it for that long. But 8 months, this should be a very, very reductive, non-oxidative kind of a wine. So, and then it's bottled, unfiltered, unfined with a minimal amount of sulfur at the end. It's basically what we have here. So hopefully that makes a little more sense now that like we've gone through sherry production method and everything that we've covered when I'm going through the production method on this wine. Hopefully this makes a little more sense. Cool. Any questions about any of that I just went over before we get to tasting it?
I mean, it tastes so different. Is that mostly because of the floor process? If that wasn't included, would it taste more like a typical white wine?
Yes. Yeah. It's that floor, 8 months under floor. So 8 months completely reductive, no oxygen. And then, it's not just the oxygen. Like when wine ages under floor, the same thing happens in like a Jura, like a Vin. There's these very particular sherry notes or rancio notes is what we call it, rancio. It develops that, and then you get a little bit of that kind of like the almond skin, green almond kind of a thing going on. But yes, you see the influence of that floor here. And then now that you've tasted Manzanilla uh, and Amontillado and others, you see that this is not oxidative, but you also see the influence of that floor. Right? Exactly, and you're exactly right, Joe. Like the reason why this wine tastes the way it does is because of that floor, but it's not as extreme as the Manzanilla was because
Yeah.
it's only spent 8 months. So it's like a Fino light, if you will have it.
Interesting. Thanks.
Right. But exactly, like that makes like now because we've gone through all of that, like that makes sense to you. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Like, when I say this is pheno light, like you understand what that means, right? And that's what I mean. Like last time when I featured this wine, it was hard for me, or I felt like I did a poor job, or like it was hard for me to get this wine across the finish line, so to speak, because you all didn't have that Vino as a reference point. But now that you know what Vino is, like, and you've had Vino, like you see what this wine is, and then like how this crosses that line between Vino and like regular table wine. It's not just a regular table wine, very different. It's own kind of distinct identity. Like it's super cool.
Can I ask a
Um,
question that I'm worried I missed the answer to because I had to step away and tend a baby in the middle of this? Um,
okay.
just so I'm sorry if you covered this, but just
No.
I feel like when during week one when we were talking about like the aging under floor, it needed to like reach a specific percent alcohol, which
Mm-hmm.
is why they fortify it for the floor to form. And I did hear you say that this was 13%. So unless it like how does floor form here? Like is
Yeah.
it a high enough alcohol
So
percentage?
yeah, so the for floor to form, for it to start, the wine has to get up to basically right around like 13.5 to 14.5%. Um, the in Jerez and in Sanlúcar, where they use Palomino Fino, completely different grape variety. Here we're using Pedro Jimenez. So the our first week's example, the Manzanilla that we had, that's made from Palomino Fino. Palomino Fino naturally does not have enough sugar for it to get to 13.5 to 14.5% that's required for flour to grow. It can only get up to about 11 to 12%, 11.5 to 12%. So what they do is that they fortify the wine at that point. So they throw the brain in there to jack up the alcohol level from 11% to like 13, 13.5, 14%, so that flour can grow, so they can make that wine into Fino or Manzanilla. But here in Monteamoriles, they use Pedro Jimenez. They don't use Palomino Fino. Pedro Jimenez, like I was saying earlier, is also capable of making that syrupy, lusciously sweet dessert wine. That's how much sugar, natural sugar it has. So it is able to actually naturally get this wine up to like 15% without adding fortification.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so that's why here in Montia Morilla, you don't need to fortify Fino. Once you want to get the Oloroso, then you have to. So the Oloroso that we had from last week was fortified because you need to get that up to like 18%. So, but for Fino, you don't have to because naturally Pedro Jimenez has enough sugar to get it up to
Got it.
that. Yeah, and then another argument they always say is that the why Montemoriles is also perhaps a better wine to express that concept of terroir, right? Like the sense of place is because you don't have to use as much brandy. Basically, like the brandy spirit is not seen as like a product of a place, right? It's just a product to get the alcohol level up. So more brandy use, more of that sense of place terroir that you lose. You're killing that terroir. So the fact that here in Montemoriles with the Fino, or even for Oloroso, you don't have to use as much brandy spirit as you would in Jerez because naturally the Pedro Jimenez can get it up there. That is much better expression of the place as a wine than it is in Jerez. Is what the Montemoriles fans would say. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, follow up. So just you mentioned it. So Jura, I'm supposing also forms of floor to get that flavor.
Yep.
How do they jack up the alcohol in the
So
Alps with that such,
excellent.
at those temperatures?
Yes, excellent question. Because that's immediately after putting this box together was the first thing that I researched. I'm like, so how is it that Jura is not able to form floor? Apparently, just a natural ambient yeast that exists in Jura, they are able to. So the grape that they use over there is a Sauvignon. So Sauvignon does not get up to up to 15%. So Sauvignon is able to get up to 13.5%, and then it's naturally just kind of forms its own uh, the floor there without having to use dry. It's kind of like this, but
That's wild.
yeah,
No pun intended.
yeah, exactly. So a wild floor, the wild flora of yeast that grows there is able to. They have a specific strain that can grow at a lower alcohol than in Spain. At least that's what the you can't believe everything the internet says. That's what my research has been saying.
Theory. Cool.
Um, any other questions? Cool. Let's taste the wine. Who wants to take the appearance? I'm gonna pull up the grid. All right, here we go.
I can't get, there we are. I'll take it.
All right,
Okay, this wine is clear,
this wine is clear.
very clear. You can see right through it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is,
It's almost hard to believe that this is a unfiltered and unfined.
it is hard to believe.
Yeah.
And then it is a medium color,
Yeah.
medium intensity
Yeah. I'll call this my medium as well.
with a lemon to gold.
Yeah, I see more gold than
Yeah,
I was expecting. So yeah, I would call this about like medium gold actually.
medium gold. Okay,
Yeah.
I can accept that.
Yeah.
There's no it's not oxidized, so it doesn't have a lot of no bubbles in it at all.
No bubbles.
No, I mean, yeah,
No deposits. Very clear, clean.
yeah.
Yeah, but that color does tell you something, especially now that we've gone through various stages of oxidative aging. Even the 8 months under floor, like that's what's giving it that kind of gold color. You know, without that aging, this would be much more closer to the lemon color you were talking about, probably a little paler. But the fact that it's seen that 8 months of the aging is giving that some of the color as well. So, yeah, cool. Let's pick. You get to pick the next person for the nose.
Any volunteers? Lisa, you want to do it? No answer? Oh, there she
Sure.
is.
All right. Sorry, where are we though? I was eating
You're in
snacks
the
and
nose.
get my keep my cat from eating the snacks. Where are we? What's
You're in the
happening?
nose.
Tell me
You're in
everything.
the nose, Lisa.
All right, we're in the nose. Clean, I think.
Yeah, this one is clean. This one is sound.
We got called to do the nose.
Oh, no.
And then so is that
Intensity?
intensity? Okay, like maybe medium minus?
Yeah. You mean your nose is in the glass and you are struggling to smell it?
Maybe medium? It's like just off the glass.
Like I'm smelling it.
Like it's like here. Is that medium?
Like I'm smelling it here. Like it's like what? Like 3. So I'm gonna call this a medium plus.
We call it medium
Like-
plus. Okay.
I'm like here. Yeah, which is like at least a few inches. So I'm gonna call this medium plus.
Okay.
Medium plus aroma.
Medium plus.
What do you get?
I don't get anything floral.
No?
Do you get anything floral?
I get a little floral.
You get a little floral.
I also get
Chamomile?
anytime there's a floor aging, I get a little bit of that like dry
Oh.
chamomile kind of a thing.
We're doing the nose.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm told there's floral. I said there was none, but I was wrong.
I could
No,
see
it's not
like
that you're
some-
wrong. To me,
Orange blossom, says Whitney.
floor always gives me like the chamomile. Like dry.
Okay, that's what I thought. Like
Yeah.
like floral, but
Oh,
really
yeah.
like herbal.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
More into herbal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I could see
I say
chamomile.
chamomile. Any green fruit?
Maybe. It
Maybe
smells
they're
kind
right.
of greeny.
It feels green, but like
It feels green, but I don't know, like
it's not like fresh.
maybe apple? No.
Yeah, I mean, I can be convinced there's some like a green pear, green apple or something.
Yeah, like very
Yeah,
green, like
yeah,
underripe.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like a Granny Smith apple kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Those like
Um,
hard kiwis.
Yeah, the hard
yeah.
kiwis, the ones that don't taste very good. Um, citrus
And
fruit.
citrus?
Yeah, orange
Mhm.
orange peel.
Yeah. More like some zesty like.
I get like preserved lemon. Like
Yeah,
reminds
yeah.
me of like a Morocco.
I like preserved,
Like
like salt, like yes,
Yeah.
because it's the salt, the savory.
exactly salty, like
Yeah.
lemony, preserved lemony kind of a deal here.
Mm-hmm.
Stone fruit?
I don't
I
really
don't
get
really get
stone
any stone
fruit.
fruit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither. Any tropical fruit?
I don't know.
I could be sold on star fruit, like overripe star fruit.
Mm, yeah.
Something
I think
kind of
I feel
funky.
like there's a I was thinking like a golden kiwi, but like I think we are
Yeah.
both kind of getting some sort of like a
I was gonna
exotic
say
fruit.
like fermented pineapple,
Yeah,
like
like
that
Yeah,
fermented
yeah.
pineapple. You know that drink where you ferment pineapple,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
where it's like a little savory, a little pineapple-y.
Yeah.
And it's like the
Yeah, there's
stem of the
something
pineapple,
I think
peel
we're
of the
all getting some
pineapple.
sort of like an exotic kind of a tropical fruit
Yeah.
something here. But yeah, but I can get behind that. Any red fruit, black fruit?
No.
no.
Yep. Any what's the character of the fruit? Is it dried? Is it ripe, underripe, overripe,
Fermented.
fresh?
Fresh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
salty.
There's a lot of like salt preserved kind of a
Well preserved.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get some serious like funky fruit.
Yeah, funky
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah, I get a lot of like preserved lemon, that preserved fruit. Yeah, absolutely. Salted like what is that Japanese? Like the umeboshi, like the salted,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Fleming kind of
Yeah.
a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Herbaceous, herbal, any kind of like savory, green.
I get like savory and fruit. I don't know that I get like green, like these specific notes, like green bell pepper, grass, tomato leaf. I don't know that I get those specific
Yeah,
notes.
it's not a green.
It's not
There's
really a
one
green.
particular thing that I get, and tell me if you guys think I'm crazy, but I get fennel, but not the actual fennel bulb or
Yeah.
licorice. I get like
Mhm.
fennel pollen, which
I
is like
like that.
slightly
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
fennelly, pollen-y kind of a thing here.
Spiced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah.
any pungent spice, any rockiness?
Is it kind of pungent spice?
I don't know. I think no on the pungent spice.
Yeah, no
As I
spice.
opened it, I felt like it was kind of like stony, but I don't know if it's still stony.
Really good stone.
I feel like that might have just been like the blow off.
Yeah, I don't really get stone.
I
It had a
guess
very,
like
like,
some like a wet
really
choppy
weird-
soil
With
thing
chocolate.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. But going back to this herbal thing, like there's
Mhm.
definitely the savory note here. Like it's not
Yeah.
just the food. There's something really, really savory about these
Mhm.
aromas here. Preserved, like what we're talking about, like fermented, preserved, fennel pollen. There's something, even chamomile. Yes, it's flower, but it's like the herbally flower, like all of that.
Do you get any nail polish remover like acetone?
So when I hear nail polish, I hear like lifted, elevated VA, like
Mhm.
volatile acidity, like
Mhm.
acetic acid. I don't get a whole lot of that here. Like, yeah, to me, this is not VA. Something completely different. It's not vinegar. It's not balsamic vinegar. So the VA at a very high amount would
Mhm.
express itself as like a nail polish.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Yeah, 'cause
secondary?
because that's the flavor that, or that's the like nose. It's like that's like a kind of like sort of a fault, right? Depending on how you feel about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Which we
there's
see in some
something
of the natural wines that we've tasted.
I get this with a really cool climate Chardonnay sometimes, but
Oh,
like
okay.
there's something really like green, savory, kind of herbaceous thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling it a fennel pollen, but like it's
Mm-hmm.
like even beyond that. Um, but yeah, it's like something green, something vegetal, herbaceous, herbal, savory.
There's like a grassy smell.
I can
I
see
Yeah.
would think
grassy.
like the smell, this is like maybe not the best wine description, but like if you're like in the pet store and you're like where they're selling like the hay for bunnies, it's like that type of smell. Like I
Yeah,
don't know if that's
I
like
love
the best
that.
way to
I love
describe it,
that
but like
actually.
I have never once heard bunny hay as a
You know?
aroma call, but
I
I'm
mean there's
all for
probably
it.
like a better way to say that. But
I mean, I call hay on wine all the time, but I
it's
mean
not like
It's
hay.
hay
It's
hay.
not hay.
It's
yeah,
the stuff that the bunnies. Well, you're
It's
thinking
like
the
the pellet.
feed.
It's like the pellet of like the bunny feed. It's
Yeah,
like the
it's
bunny
bunny
pellet
feed,
feed.
not bunny bedding. This is very important.
Yeah, this is really
Yeah,
key. If
it's
you're in the pet
greener.
store, I want you
Yeah.
people to identify the wine.
yeah. Okay, all right, I got you. Next time I'm at Pickle, I'm gonna go find one.
You gotta
They're like,
smell.
"What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about that. I just need to smell this." Uh,
Training my nose.
yeah, exactly. All right. Any secondary aromas?
Not really? Are there?
I get a little bit of this, not hugely,
Yeah, like the
but I get a little bit of
tiniest.
like a little bit of dough, maybe a little bit like cheese rind, some of that kind of
But
a.
like not very cooked dough. Like not like
No.
brown
Yeah.
dough.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
like
Like
bready
a
dough. Yeah.
yeah, bready before it goes into the oven, kind of a
Yeah.
dough
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um, any other tertiary here, or
Mm,
any other secondary or tertiary?
I don't really get anything
Yeah.
unless
So that's another thing that I want to point out, right? Like now that we've traveled down so much of these tertiary, secondary notes in the first 3 weeks of this wine, with this wine, now we're back to pretty much everything we talked about is mostly primary, right? Maybe with some secondary thrown in, but no tertiary as mentioned. This is, like you guys have now traveled across the entire spectrum of wine's aging, like, what that feels like, what that tastes like, and, to help you kind of calibrate your senses about what happens to at least white wine when it's been aged. So it's another thing that's a cool, geeky rabbit hole you can go down on with sherry. Cool, good job. You get to pick the next person for the palate. But these are all the kind of the things that we talked about with Montagnier, the Fino style, right? We talked about chamomile, dry chamomile, the salty preserved lemon thing,
yeah.
some of that dough. Like again, it's that floor that's coming in here, but this is not like you would never call this Montagnier or Fino. It's just very its own thing. It's very different. It's more like a regular table wine, but with a little bit of sherry influence on there. So
Yeah.
uh
Jamie, are you there?
I am here, but I don't have my bottle open yet. I haven't stopped working.
Oh
Sorry. I
no.
will stop working and open my bottle though.
Consider this your sign to
Yes.
quit work.
yeah, you're also on a California time, 6:30.
Yeah,
It's
6:30 is
half
Yeah,
hour
good.
this is
time.
early for me. I
6:24.
got it. I got
Yeah.
it. But if someone
It's
else wants to do the tasting, I'll get it open right now though and pay attention.
God damn it, this one is so cool.
So do you have a specific fish that you thought would be like a fish? Like I know in the pairing you were saying kind of fishy food generally, but is there like a fattier fish or like a more
Yeah, I would do like a grilled, like whole fish, like a grilled snapper, grilled branzino, like a Mediterranean fish route. I think would be fantastic. something like with just like nothing but just like sea salt, maybe squeeze of lime and olive oil. That's it. You know, something really simple. I actually do think this would be good with a sushi as well.
Mm.
Um, and that's another thing that you also I want to point out, like compared to the first 3 weeks, way less soy sauce, like way less
Oh
umami.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Like we've
Yeah,
kept
agree.
talking about that
Totally.
umami note, miso, sesame, soy sauce kind of thing. Way less of that, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
this
what are
just
we
is
doing?
We are on palette.
Oh, that is not sweet. Um, I don't know, not really dry. Maybe it's medium dry.
This is bone dry. There's no sugar on this thing whatsoever.
Okay,
Yeah,
but it has a weird aftertaste
this is all
with
the
the,
shit. This
the
is the sherry that
sherryness
we've
of
been
it.
talking about.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know where to place the weird aftertaste on the sweetness thing.
Have you had any of the wines bottles from this month yet?
Yes.
You had the very first one, the Manzanilla.
The tiny my mom and I
No,
drank
that's
the
the
little
tallest
bottle.
one, the biggest one, the full 750.
I
Besides
don't
this one.
think I don't think I opened that one.
Okay, so that's probably the closest thing to what we're having today. So it's somewhere between regular like white table wine and that Manzanilla that's in the box. If those two had like a bastard child together, is what we'd be having today, essentially.
My mom and I just randomly had a sherry drinking night with one of the bottles, but that's the only one we've opened.
That's the kind of a night I like, just a random sherry drink night.
Yep.
All right, acidity.
I'm really not good at this, guys. Um, I don't know, that medium? It doesn't seem
Yeah,
like
it's like a right on the medium to medium
Oh.
plus edge for me. I want to go towards like medium plus here.
medium plus.
Um, I could go either way right now. I'm like right on the split, but like it's not low by any chance. And the fact that Pedro Jimenez grape, which is what this is made of, naturally able to produce like 18+% of sugar, enough sugar to get it there. The fact that it can have this much acid is what's amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna call this I'll call this a medium plus, like lower end of medium plus. Tannin, obviously, we don't have to talk about. Alcohol. I mean,
Why do
I've
we
been
obviously not have to talk about tannin?
with a white wine, especially with this white wine, this hasn't seen any barrel, so there will be no wood tannins in there. There's no skin contact here. It was a direct press. It was just like pressed off. Like there could be maybe some tannin, but if there's any tannin, it would be very like accidental thing. It's not like this is not designed to impart any tannin into the wine.
Got it.
Yeah. Alcohol.
I'm really bad at this one too, but this seems like just medium kind of all around.
Yep. I mean, we've been talking about it, how this is naturally able to reach 13%, which is great for floor aging. So yeah, 13% is medium. Body.
Also medium.
Yeah, this is like higher in the medium, lower in the medium. Plus, it's got some weight. Like, yeah, I'll probably call this medium. I'll end up medium, but I just want to note that this is like bordering on medium plus. And the fact that, again, this is Pedro Jimenez. It's just like Pedro Jimenez has that weight because it's got naturally so high in sugars naturally. So that glycol, all that fermentation that happens with that sugar, it's got some weight. Moose, we don't have to talk about. Center sparkling wine. Flavor intensity. How expressive are the flavors in the wine?
Oh, I felt like the first couple tastes were so expressive, and that sherry on the back.
Yeah.
But
I think
as I drink it, it's getting less so.
yeah.
But like maybe medium plus. Maybe.
Yeah, it's very expressive. I'll call this
Yeah.
medium plus as well. You may not like it, like you were saying, this aftertaste is weird. You may not like it, that's fine, but you can't argue that this is a shy wine. Like it's very expressive, you know.
Mhm.
So I'll call this medium plus. Medium plus flavors of. Do you confirm everything that Lisa and Whitney called out?
I
And he
was
said-
not paying attention. I was writing a brief. Let's do tomorrow.
Well, call out some things that you are tasting. Just go
Oh,
top to
crap.
bottom.
I only heard you guys talking about green, unripe, tropical stuff. Like I heard you talking about green pear and green apple,
Mm-hmm.
and then a tropical something or other. I also
Yeah,
get
I-
like, I don't know,
Yeah, just call out whatever you think you're getting.
something like herbal in
Mhm.
there, or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, what is the like slightly unpleasant, like it hits the back of your tongue?
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about chamomile, like a dry chamomile.
Mm.
We've talked about like some sort of green fruit, very like Granny
Who says
Smith
pickle juice?
apple. What'd you say?
Someone in the chat says pickle juice.
Pickle juice. I mean, salinity. Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
me. That's like all I can taste with this. It's like a pickleback. I feel like I'm like chasing
Yeah.
a shot with pickle juice. That's
I mean, I can totally
It's
see it.
funny.
It's tart, it's saline, salinity, all of that.
Now that you say saline, yeah, definitely.
A lot of salt in this thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kind of like the green apple, Granny Smith, green pear, kind of what we talked about. Citrus here, we talked about like salted lemon, not like a fresh lemon, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
preserved salted
Mhm.
lemon. Very, very salty.
Well, I don't think I would have picked that out if you hadn't said it.
This is a power suggestion. As soon as you say it, you're
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I get that too.
I just couldn't have put a word on it.
Yeah.
Like you could, the saltiness is definitely there, and the like, it's weird. Like they're kind of like off,
Yeah. This
unusual
wine
flavors.
is very singular where what it is. No stone fruit. The tropical fruit. There were a bunch of other things that came out. Lisa called that some like a fermented pineapple.
Oh yeah, it's
Whitney would call
tepache.
that. Yeah. Whitney called that star fruit. I was going through like golden kiwi, but like we all somehow, it may be all different. Well, we're calling it different, but like somehow there's
You
some
can
sort of
definitely
exotic
smell
fruit.
the tropicalness of it.
Yeah, some sort of exotic kind of a fruit going on here. No red or black. The
Joe
nature of the
says
fruit.
apricot, nutmeg, and apple butter. Boy,
Apple
the
butter.
apple butter's a good descriptive one because it
Huh.
does has that like, there's a weird, apple butter's a good one.
Okay. Um, the fruit here, I get some fresh, ripe ones, but there are a lot of that kind of like preserved, salted, that kind of fruit. Yeah, like this reminds me of that, that Japanese salted sour plum, the umeboshi,
Oh
the
yeah.
Japanese,
Oh,
and like
that
it
one's
reminds
great.
me of that a lot. Okay, so going to what you were talking about, this kind of green herbaceous herbal thing. So I kept saying about how there's this kind of I get fennel, but fennel pollen, not necessarily the bulb, like the vegetable part, but the like the flower pollen part. So I guess some like fennel pollen. Um, Whitney was saying that they get some like the rabbit hay. Like if you go to a pet store and you buy that
Oh,
pellet,
there's
or like the
definitely
pellets.
something along one of those lines. Yeah, like a
Yeah,
pollen.
but for me, I think we're all agreed there's some sort of really savory vegetable, like herbaceous thing that's running through here.
Yeah.
I'm calling it as a fennel pollen, but I think we're all agreeing that there's some sort of non-fruit, sweet, like savory thing. No pungent spices. I call that something like a
Alfalfa
chalky.
pellets.
Yeah, rabbit pellets. Yeah.
It's such a
The
lovely wine.
Yeah, I guess something like chalky, dusty, something like a wet
Which
chalk.
is
kind of
what
a-
I was like, is there tannin? Is there really? There's no tannin? It's the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
chalky. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely that like a chalky textural kind of a thing. We did call out some of this like kind of bread dough, not like a very fresh dough. A little bit of dough, cheese rinds, some sort of that's like the yeasty. Makes sense on their floor for 8 months. No sign of oak, and then no tertiary. It's pretty much raw in the primary, and some of this is what we're talking about. All right, and then this is not mentioned here, but saline, salt. I mean, it's so salty. There's a lot of salt running through here. It's very, very savory wine. The finish. How long is the finish?
Long. I don't know what is finish again, because the aftertaste makes me feel like it like finishes
Yeah,
so
how long
but
the
that's
flavors
not.
linger around?
Hmm?
How long the flavors linger around?
I mean, it has this huge aftertaste. Like
Yeah.
it stays in my mouth. So
I think this is a pretty good length on here. I'm gonna call this at least medium plus here.
oh, I was gonna say long.
Not as
Like,
long
it,
as
like,
the
stays in there,
yeah.
but
Not as long as the Oloroso or the Amontillado we've had, but it's definitely not short. So I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. All right, let's bring it on home. How good is this wine? And
very
would you
good.
age it? Well, let's walk through it. Do you think this wine is balanced?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's nothing here that's preventing me from other things. Acid is there, but yeah, it's not crazy. So balanced. Concentration, we called it medium plus on the nose, medium plus on the palate, so medium plus. Complexity, we had primary, bunch of different stuff in primary, like flower, green fruit, citrus, some tropical, different natures of fruit, some herbaceous herbal, chalk minerality. We have some secondary, the dough, no tertiary, but pretty decent. That's at least medium, if not going into medium plus complexity. And the length, we called it medium plus. So when we take average of all of that, we land at medium plus, which puts us right here in very good.
Very good.
Now, would you age it?
I have no idea. I don't even know what the criteria
So,
for that.
that's what I say.
I'm a terrible student in this club.
Yeah, this wine is a medium plus acidity, we call it borderline medium plus. So it's not even like the it's not super high in acid, but it's got decent backbone. We got the concentration medium plus, we got the complexity. So I don't think this wine is going to fall apart anytime soon. But the point of this wine is all about that kind of freshness of all the fruit with a touch of that floor effect on top of it. More you age this is gonna lose a lot of that freshness, the primary that we're talking about, and it's gonna go more towards that floor. And that's not the point of Vino. Like this is not, and this is like that somewhere between that fresh table wine and a Fino, which is a freshest version of the sherry, and those things combined. So it's all about enjoying the freshness of it. So I say, given the medium plus acidity, I don't think this is gonna fall apart anytime soon. But I wouldn't worry about aging this. I would say drink this over next, I don't know,
Drink
2
now.
years, 3 years or something. I don't think it's gonna go bad. Or it's gonna get tired in the next 2 to 3 years. Cool. Good job. Way to jump in the middle, switch task between writing briefing and this.
I should hit save on my
Good job.
brief. There we go.
Any questions? Any disagreements? Any objections?
Yeah, I got an almond nuttiness.
I was thinking that actually just as I was saying the length part, I was like, you know what? I think there's some of that green almond kind of a thing, which makes sense. It's that floor, that's what defines Vino style. No, I think it's an excellent call, actually. There's also, looking at the length, there's a touch of a bitterness here. There's ever so touch of a bitterness, like a phenolic bitterness that runs here, which is also a similar thing to that kind of like that almond skin, nutty skin kind of a thing. But yeah, makes sense. No, I think it's an excellent call, actually.
Yeah, I mentioned like apple butter and cinnamon, and I think that's more for the aroma. And this is like one of those really interesting wines where the aroma and the flavor don't match that well.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
Yeah.
Because I
No, I
pulled that old jar of apple butter out of my fridge. It's been in there for like 2 years. I was like, yeah, it's like pretty much minus the sugar, right? Because you associate all those things with like desserty, sweet things.
yeah, yeah,
But, like if you ever made like a painkiller from scratch, they grind the nutmeg, like the aroma is there. But the flavor though is like just not doesn't really match it. It's interesting.
yeah. Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned that, Phil, I'm totally getting a lot of that, like the almond skin. This is not that nutty, like the hazelnut walnut that we're talking about. This is that like the Vino style, like the green almond, um,
Yeah.
almond skin kind
Like
of thing.
a lot of these sort of wine, I opened right when we started and it's changed quite a bit
Yeah, yeah,
as we
for sure.
started. So now it
Um,
tastes fine. Yeah.
yeah, and just like all the other ones as well, I feel like this one is also one of those things. It just makes more sense with food. It's just like everything makes so much more sense with food. Something briny, something salty. If you have even like olives, like in your fridge, like try with some olives, green olives. I think this would make a lot more sense for
Yeah,
sure.
I'll go with a salted apple pie. Personally.
Salted apple pie. All right, all right. Did you guys like this one? Just out of curiosity, how do you guys feel about this one? I fucking love this one. No, not for you. Even worse than the first week's one? Even worse than the Manzanilla? Oh,
It
wow.
was fine. I had like no real objection to the first week's wine. This is like way below any of the others for me. I honestly really can't taste anything other than pickle. Y'all are talking about tasting notes. I've been with you up until now. All I can taste is like the salinity. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, it's salty as fuck. It's very salty.
We really like it, but I just admitted to Sam that I actually enjoy drinking pickle juice out of the jar. So Sam was like, "No
Yeah.
wonder you like this."
Yeah. Also, do you not like pickles, Sam?
I like pickles. I wouldn't choose to like drink the pickle juice though. Like
Oh,
I'll
okay.
eat like a dill pickle, but I'm like I don't want to just drink straight pickle juice, and I feel like that's like not what I'm looking for in my wine is like the dominant flavor. I don't know.
You
Maybe
guys
you
are
need to,
generation. Come on.
yeah, maybe you need to question your conviction behind your pickle loving. If you're not even going to drink the pickle juice. Uh,
What would happen
uh,
if they took these grapes down and dried them out like they do for in the lower valley, the same
uh-huh.
Pedro Jimenez grapes?
Yeah.
Would they get this? Would they change and become syrupy sherry like?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
They
that's
were grown
how
at
that
a high
dessert wine is
altitude.
made. Yeah, they took it out, they harvest the grapes, and they lay it out on a mat in the sun so they dry out raisin. So all the water evaporates, it concentrates, and then they crush it and get the juice out, and then they ferment that. So if you were, this will probably wouldn't have as much sugar as that, but yes, if you dry it out and then made it the same way, you could turn this into a dessert wine as well. Absolutely. And in my opinion, it may even be a superior dessert wine because there's better acid. But um, yeah.
Maybe next year's we'll have one. All right, they'll do it next year.
Yeah,
Experiment.
maybe. So I mean, so for those of you, not Sam and Annie, because you guys haven't seen the other bottles, but does this wine make so much more sense? Like the contextually, like what this wine is and what they're trying to do now that we've gone through sherry and you've had that PX bottle before and it's made from the same thing. Like I don't know, does it one, do you think you have a better understanding of what this wine is versus your also enjoyment of it, knowing that context? How does it change your enjoyment of this wine, knowing that context, if it changed? I'm curious. Because I think the last bottle, when I featured this bottle the first time, it's very similar reaction to what Jamie was having, which is like, this wine is weird. Like, what is happening here? Like, you could not neatly place this wine in a box, and there was no reference point to put this into. So people are just really confused. But so that I was hoping that now having gone through sherry, that this wine would have better context clue, essentially, better reference point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like this is like you've like dialed down the volume like the lowest. This is like the most wine adjacent because it's wine, right? So now it's like okay, yeah. So I would definitely appreciate this more than I had before. Because yeah, I mean, if you put this next to the sherry we had, it's like a light, it's a lighter, much lighter wine for that, right? So
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I also, I mean, clearly Sam doesn't agree, but like, I think this wine is delicious. Like, I think it's objectively delicious. It delivers, it hits it's very savory, um, but it hits all the kind of like the marks of what I consider to be the requirement for quote unquote delicious to human palate.
Yeah,
So,
I think this is like one of these that like it once it opens up a bit, like a lot of these wines you first have them, it tastes like musty hose water to me when you first open it. Like, what is this? And but yeah, after the bottle opens up after like 45 minutes to an hour, you get
yeah.
like that all that savory kind of unified flavor kind of comes in.
Yeah, savory, we called it very good. I mean, the complexity on this thing, the
When
concentration.
I cracked it open, I was like, I don't know. But
Yeah,
now I think it's great. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, let's
I thought it
play.
was fun not to, not to be in the Solera method. I thought
Yeah,
I learned a lot about that. I didn't understand it before.
yeah,
Uh, this is what a wine would be without this using Solera,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Precisely.
Which the
Precisely.
grape would produce.
Yeah. Uh, one bottle at a time, growing these little wine nerds. Now you guys have much better context. Love it. All right, let's play Worst Favorite Game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? We called it Very Good. It's made by the oldest, most historical producer. It's a partnership between three different, very well-known, well-respected entities. But it's not sherry. How much do you think this is? 27. 27. And you'd be happy paying 27. Well, this wine on the retail shelf would be $23, $22.98. Like, come on. Come on.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At 20, under 23 bucks, it we called it very good. Like this much complexity, this much concentration. Like it's fucking banger. Like it's such a good value wine. And it's so cool. Like it's like things like this is not happening in all of Andalusia, in all Jerez. It's just now starting to happen. And the fact that someone like Alvear is such a like a historical property is taking on a project like this is fucking awesome. It's cool. I love it. So anyways, there you go. Hopefully that concludes now why I think this one is so fucking cool and so amazing. So that's why I geek out on this one. Any questions about the wine or the region or
I think this would be a good drink after like day two, like throw it in your fridge and try it tomorrow.
yeah,
Have
yeah,
enough going on with hope. Which, for whites is like not always the case, but you could like throw this in your fridge and taste it over a couple days and it could get
yeah, absolutely.
interesting.
Any takeaway from this month for you guys? In terms of Sherry, it's like it's also not only were we talking about a region, but this is the month where we were so focused on actual like wine production method, right? Like usually we talk a lot more about like the place, the soil, the climate, and the people, but not less about what happens in the cellar. But just by the nature of sherry, because it's a very interventionist product, we had to talk a lot about actual wine making, right? Um, did that confuse people? Like, yeah, I just want to get some feedback on what you guys thought about this month in general, in terms of the programming, or did this make you appreciate sherry more, even if you even don't like it? Maybe it made you respect it or like under appreciate it at least in a certain way, or because I feel like when we started, when I took the survey, it seemed like not most people were not familiar with sherry. You've had sherry, but this was kind of like a mystery, right? So like, is it easier for you to understand? I mean, by the way, this is only the like surface level. You can go even deeper into sherry. Like we haven't even talked about palo cortado. We haven't talked about cream sherries and like different ways to cut it. Uh, this is just like the general overview of sherry. So what did you guys think? Was there any one bottle that stuck out? Was there something that was like such a shocker? You were like, I never knew that I knew that about sherry, or now I know that I fucking hate sherry. I will never touch that again. I don't know. Or one particular style of sherry.
I thought the like kind of science part was really cool, and honestly, I was really surprised by like the first week. I think like week 3 was more like what I thought sherry was, and so the
Mm,
like Vino like manzanilla like flavor profile was felt really out of left field to me, but I think
mm,
it's been a really interesting journey, and I honestly like this is the only one that I have such a strong hatred for. Like I I really even if it wasn't necessarily um my thing all the time, I enjoyed the first 3 weeks a lot more, especially the second week. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and especially for you guys,
This
man.
is
You
the
guys,
one my mom loved.
yeah,
Little
Oloroso.
bottle.
Yeah, that's a oxidized one. Yeah,
That's like what I feel like I thought sherry was before this.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the rest of it was kind of surprising.
yeah. Um, Especially for you, Sam and Annie. I mean, this is your first month. Like you joined in a very like geeky month, you know. uh, all right. Well,
It's been
I'm
fun.
glad that it was intriguing enough for you to join another month. So I'll see you in Castilla and Leon for sure. Um, yeah. Anything else? Any other comments?
Yeah, I learned a lot. Like the whole method of like, you know, blending older and older vintages, and I had no idea it was like that. I thought it was just sort of fortified wine with like, a bit of a fermentation trick. So that was really interesting, how they kind of asymptotically have something older always in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Really far out. I had no idea it was that elaborate. No idea. So
Yeah.
it was interesting. Gives a lot more context to like the sherry bars in Spain, where it's just like
Yeah.
walls of sherry, old guy polishing glass. Like, what the fuck is
Yep.
going on?
Totally.
Well,
Was it
Absolutely.
sherry?
this
Yeah.
this is still my favorite bottle from last year. From the
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's the dessert PX from
right,
Alvear. We had that.
that was the Thanksgiving bottle.
That's the Thanksgiving bottle. Yeah,
It's still delicious. Still
it's
works in ice
delicious.
cream.
Absolutely. Pour it over ice cream. It's fantastic. It's awesome. Uh, so yeah, that bottle, that color, and this wine, and last week's Oloroso all came from the same grape. You know, it's fucking amazing. It's awesome. Um, cool. Any other questions? All right. Now, if you only had to pick one bottle out of this month's 4 bottles, which one would you drink? Which one would you pick?
Amontillado.
Amontillado. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Yeah.
That's the Edgar Allan Poe bottle.
That's the Allen Poe.
That's mine. That's the one I like.
Yeah.
I like this one because it's low. I think I just like the slightly lower alcohol. Like, also as discussed, I like drinking pickle juice, so this is like the closest.
Yeah.
I've been living out of a suitcase for 3 months, so I don't remember, but I think this one's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this one. This is probably be like what I would pop open with a like a dinner or like a meal. But in general, when I go, Amontillado is my preferred style. Obviously, it depends on what I'm eating, but like out of the three, it's like the perfect cross between Vino. You get all the things that you like about Vino, you get all the things you like about Oloroso, and you get like both the best of the both worlds, if you ask me. But yeah, cool, excellent, excellent. Any other questions? Cool. Well, hearing none, I'm gonna stop.